that he said. So I won't make myself clear with that.
Okay, but you did you tell us what he said? Other than
this one saying now, everyone his players. I told you that.
Okay. Came down with the flu.
With the flu, I not doubt him one bit because I know it can happen. But the reason why I asked you because I know you travel. Have you ever took no shot and you didn't get the flu? That's the reason why I asking you.
Yeah, I usually find that I end up with the flu when I return home as opposed to getting it when while I'm there. And sometimes, whether falsely so or not, people say that you have a tendency when you're traveling in an aircraft with the recirculated air and stuff like that you're likely to pick it up. Then I normally get it when I return home, not when when I'm gone. Is the caller still here? Caller?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Have you took the shot and did you get the flu? That was my question because I know you're a man travel player.
I must be honestly speaking in terms of myself. Very seldom do I catch the flu. Very seldom.
Oh well, see that's me and I travel and never catch the flu. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why I called because I know you ride and you go amongst maybe thousands of people riding and you know how to get sick.
Right.
So I was asking you if you took the flu, so at least you as a man like that there can advise, well, take the flu shot before you travel. That's the reason why I asked you.
Okay, and you heard what I read from the Center for Disease Control in terms of how do you avoid how do you avoid that happening? Yeah.
I heard everything. Mm-hmm. But one question, how much people were deported off the island for smoking ganja?
Well, consumption, if 9 times out of 10, if you're on a work permit and you have a conviction, a drug conviction, you're not allowed to stay in the Cayman Islands or to get a work permit. You normally don't get a work permit. There may be extenuating circumstances. A person may have some Caymanian connections, married to Caymanian or something like that. And even under those circumstances, depending on the gravity of the situation, I believe this one is grave in terms of the person being in despite the fact that was in a hotel, being in an accommodation and occupying it. Obviously, I could understand if this person had been picked up by immigration for working without a work permit while he's waiting for another work permit. But to be smoking ganja on the beach and, as he claimed, and inviting others or being invited by others to party in their room, we don't need people like that.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
It's in on the record that anybody got deported off the island for smoking ganja.
I am sure that there are, and I know in my during my tenure in immigration, yes, it did happen. Yes.
So I want to hear yes. So okay, and no problem.
Okay.
If that's the situation, you can deport him off the island.
Thank you very much, caller. One of our listeners wanted to know whether we were talking about the NPOs. Wanted to know. Just wondered if Estrada would be considered a nonprofit since they are supposed to be a nonprofit entity and they do collect fees. I do believe that the NPOs has not so much to do with collecting fees, but soliciting donations from the public or receiving funding from other entities, including the government of the Cayman Islands. So I don't think that Estrada would fall into that category. That is my opinion. I am sure that someone from the registry is listening in, and we welcome you to send us a text message or an email in regards to that. You can text us, WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Let us know whether or not Estrada falls into an NPO category. I don't believe it does. Or you can email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. Folks, please stay tuned. Going to headline news. When we return, the conversation will continue.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Headline. Radio
Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
Cayman's child sexual abuse documentary will be featured at the 22nd Annual International Congress on Child Abuse and Neglect in the Czech Republic this September. The documentary is only one of 4 media theater presentations accepted at this year's Congress. Talks to see the largest opposition holdout in southwestern Syria to the government have failed, triggering an intense overnight bombing campaign on the densely populated town of Nawa that killed over a dozen people and injured over 100. Separately, some 7,000 Syrians were expected to be evacuated from 2 pro-government villages in northwestern Syria as part of a negotiated deal with insurgents who have besieged them for 3 years. And members of a Thai youth soccer team who were trapped in a cave have left the hospital where they'd been treated since their rescue and are slated to hold news conferences before they return to their homes. The 12 boys and their 25-year-old coach have been pronounced generally healthy by doctors, aside from some minor infections. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record. With Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No callers at this point in time. One message we received here says, good morning. The policy of the NAU, that's a Needs Assessment Unit, to help non-Caymanians need to be abolished because Caymanians who genuinely are in need are not able to get it. If someone is here on a work permit and are not making enough money to sustain their living, then the Needs Assessment Unit should pass on their cases to WORK, W-O-R-K, that's the new agency that has come into being, for evaluation, because sometimes there are violations to the labor laws as well. I don't know whether or not there are any constraints in terms of release of personal information that would prevent the Needs Assessment Unit from advising the Immigration Department that here we have a person who's on a work permit and they are seeking assistance from the Needs Assessment Unit because they're not making enough money to support themselves in the Cayman Islands. If there are legal restraints, then certainly we don't want to end up with our hands tied behind our backs in that situation and having to support someone who the work permit was issued, number one, on the basis that the salary that is being proposed and stated on the work permit application is sufficient to maintain that individual and any dependents that they may have, that the accommodations that they're living in the Cayman Islands are suitable for them to live in as well. All of those preconditions have already been met. So our Needs Assessment Unit should really not have to be taking their cases and dealing with them on a financial basis, unless it is a situation where there's a tragedy, fire in their apartment where they're living or something of that nature. 2 calls. Let's go to the phone lines. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Fine, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks.
All right. I listened keenly to some of the previous commentators. People coming in here to this country doesn't make any difference to me personally and other people as well. Where you coming from? Once you are of a reputable character. If you get an opportunity to work or reside in the Cayman Islands, all we ever ask for is someone to be law-abiding, behave in this country like we do, and appreciate where you are. But if you hear them talking about supposedly educated people, and they bring up the thing about all sorts of things about color, let's set the record straight. Because I have broad shoulders. I and my family could have went the same way that others have went because of financial situation or, let's say, poverty. But we choose to take the right road to make ourselves something. We have accomplished a lot, and other Caymanians, not just my family, but we have accomplished a lot into our lifetime. Also, if you look at people like, let's say, Mr. Biggie Rankin, okay? Look where he's come from. Another poor Caymanian. Look where he or his family is right today. It is decor. I could go on and on to say about this thing, sympathetic about your color. I'm not into that. If you want to be somebody, you can be somebody. In my take of color, is still elementary when you come about who's what color. That is in the past, about the slavery. If you look at China, China was all Chinese, and they killed probably hundreds of thousands of millions of people into their own country of their own people. So what I will say today, if you want to make something of yourself, you will do it. You get a chance to come in this country. We are not a rehabilitation center for the world. We have a lot of our own problems. Those that come in here and cannot behave and say we run things, those people should be with a one-way ticket out of here. And I stand by what I say because I cannot really accept what people are saying about other people. Yeah, some are unfortunate situation, Mr. Connor, but we cannot look on that. Mm-hmm. If you want to be somebody, you will be somebody, regardless whether you're rich, poor, or whatever. If you don't want to be somebody, you also have that opportunity. Yep. Thank you very much for listening to me. And, sir, have yourself a pleasant day.
Thank you very much, caller, and the same to you as well. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning. How are you?
O.C., this is the woman from Miramala Drive.
Okay, recognize the voice.
When immigration give these people license to go clean, do this mobile cleaning, do they know that they don't do it? They don't have anywhere they come to another people's property?
Well, they know that is not a fixed location. That's why it's mobile.
Yeah, well, they need to have a fixed location because I don't think that we out here should have to support them with land, I suppose, and do what they want to do. They bring in about a car and throw it down anybody's in the open lot. Anyway that they see open on Miramala Drive. And I becomes the police out there. That is one. The next one is this. It is bad when you don't know about traveling. And I know Caymanian people has traveled the world. I was in Honduras the other day. I got sick. But you know I traveled with my medication.
Okay.
And I didn't even need to see a doctor. Because probably it was sinus, probably it was allergies, and everybody think they're getting a cold. And probably it's not a cold. And I took my medication, and I mean, the first day I felt kind of bad, but I still worked, because that's what I went there for. And I didn't have any problem. I didn't have to see a doctor. The next thing I need to ask you, I get calls about these Caymanian dresses, but I don't intend to mess my time with everybody. I have my granddaughter, and she's going to school, and her mother had asked me for one. And I want to make one for her, but you know our Caymanian children, I'm going to style it like it, but I can modernize it at the same time. I thought my grandmother said it was blue plaid, but I can't remember, and I wanted to get it out before Steve came because I know he would know the exact color. That's what I need to know because I'm going to build her one, and maybe everybody will take the style from that. But make sure when they're taking that now, it ain't going to be like the butterfly that is in the paper that is mine. They're going to have to pay me some money for it now. Because our children are not used to that, say, old-fashioned dress, because we never did it when we should. We should have made every child in Cayman wore one. Sometimes they were young, that they got used to it. We can't wait now for the older one, but we can instill it into the younger one and show them our traditional. And the boys should also have a plaid shirt because school do have cultural day. And people come here and I have to tell them, well, you get a skirt like this and blah, 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 which is not the right thing. They need the right color and they need that Cayman style to it and their straw hat. And it's not going and buying a hat from anybody. They need to get a Cayman straw hat made and a nice basket to go with it. I'm going to make hers more dress-alike that would entice the young people to say, oh, I will wear it. Okay? That's the style I'll put to it. But I want to know the right color because I'm going to do it more like the quadrille. Because, I researches and read everything I do. And I was doing Caribbean plaid dresses, and all of us is the same. And Puerto Rico's was there, Nicaragua's, Honduras, and everyone. It's the same style. But, I want to do our Pacific color. The style, like I say, I'm going to throw that bottom like the quadrille. It's the top that the young people...
I would suggest that the best place for you to go to get that information, one of two places, the museum, but more specifically probably the National Archives.
The National you really... that's the thing is this, I don't want to run up and down, drive up and
Well,
down.
if you give them a call, they will tell you whether or not they have any information in that regard, and they will be able to lead you in the right direction. Just a phone call. These days, the archives.
The National Archives.
Yes.
Okay,
they're listed.
thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, caller, for that as well. We're talking, we have another caller, Ms. Susan. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Mr. Orrett Connor, it's Quincy Brown. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you doing? I was on my way down this morning. Miss Susan was playing one of your gospel songs that you sang this morning. You're quite an accomplished individual, sir.
Thank you, and thanks to Radio Cayman for continuing to promote local music. I say thank you. Now, Reba Dilbert, I heard her from yesterday, Miss Reba, Cayman's designer extraordinaire. I heard her trying to query the color of the national dress for the Cayman Islands, and I've done some research, and I found out.
Oh, great.
Jamaica's is red and white, and they call it the bandana design, and Reba is absolutely correct. All countries, the women of each respective country, it's the same design. The color for Cayman is blue, not Caribbean sea blue, but the blue that is found on the CI dollar bill. And if you go to the airport, there used to be, well, I'm not sure, I haven't traveled through Gerard. I haven't traveled through the Owen Roberts International Airport probably in about 9 or 10 months, but the last time...
And when you do now, you'll get lost.
Well, I understand. There's been a lot of changes within 9 or 10 months, but there used to be a huge mural with High Tide and others, and there was a picture with Rita Estevanovich dressed in the Caymanian, what would be the national dress, and it's white with a light blue, a blue that's almost grayish. It's the same blue that appears on the CI dollar bill. So that is the color. It's there's no doubt about it. But you can still check with the archive, with Cayman National Cultural Foundation to confirm. But Reba's right. Any country you go to, they have a national dress, and for the men it would be the khaki pants with the top reflecting the light blue and white. So Reba, that's your answer. A light blue and white for the Cayman colors. And yes, we should be proud of our national dress. And for the men, the national shirt, which goes with the khaki pants then. Good luck on that project, Reba. Okay. And finally, Mr. Connor, deportation for smoking marijuana in a hotel room. should this be a felony or a misdemeanor, particularly when we have our own doing the exact same thing alongside beaches and their private residences? I think that a person should be allowed to perhaps partake in the herb in the privacy of their own homes. I don't think it requires jail time, and I don't think it requires deportation.
Yeah.
But
in this case, though, Mr. Brown, it not only the smoking of the ganja, but the fact that he was illegally in a room that he wasn't allowed. He wasn't a guest there. These were rooms that were not rented. For some reason, the person was also trespassing, I should say, without, using so many words. The person was trespassing as well. The decriminalization of ganja is another discussion that we have to have. It's taken place not only throughout the Caribbean, but throughout the world as well. So decriminalization of ganja is something to talk about. But in this case, the person's offense was more egregious. It was more than just the smoking of ganja.
I understand. So that's a horse of a different color.
Yes.
That's a horse of a different color. So
Yes.
I didn't realize the
Yes.
the other charges there then. So yes, well, the courts will do what they have to do. But when it comes to the smoking of marijuana for recreational purposes,
Yes.
I believe each person in the privacy of their own yards should be allowed to partake for their own consumption. It becomes problematic when you're illegally importing hundreds of pounds of it. Then you have trouble, because you'd be surprised who in this society, lawyers, doctors, teachers, who engage in the smoking of marijuana for recreational purposes. It would shock you.
And then, of course, the use for medicinal purposes, has to be considered as well. We went through that challenge before, even though it's limited in terms of what we have now, but that's something that has to be considered as well. Thank you very much, caller, for that. We're going to go to a commercial break. When we return, we will have probably about 12 more minutes of our conversation with you, our listening and viewing audience. Please stay tuned.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
This July at Kirk Home Center, start your summer renovations with Skills Circular Saw for $87.49. Stack and organize clothes, shoes, and home decor with Supreme's adjustable shelving units starting at $21.30. Get your green thumb going with a gardening window box perfect for growing herbs for $8.99. And get rid of weeds with 1 gallon of lawn weed killer concentrate for $19.99.
Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
The empowered woman. Performance-driven, strong-spirited. You need a ride to match your drive. Whether boss by day or mom by night, with lots of legroom and space for sports gear and other things. The new Ford EcoSport is built for you, and it's now on sale for only $22,000, saving you $2,900 off during That Motors summer sale. Stop by That Motors, where you can also save $3,000 off the new Ford Ranger XLT double cab truck. Just 2 of the many great deals going on now at That Motors on Walker's Road.
Not all insurance is created equal, but who has the time to shop around? Take the guesswork out of your insurance coverage with Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Let us match you with the best coverage to suit your needs at a price to suit your wallet. Plus, get superior customer service from dedicated claims professionals to ensure speedy claims processing. Get your insurance through Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. One of our listeners has also shared information with us in relation to traveling, avoiding the flu, and depending on the type of activity that you're involved in competition, she pointed out that you have to be extremely careful the medication that you take as well in the event that for that particular competition you are drug tested as well. So you have to be extremely careful what medication you take when traveling and going to competition to ensure that it does not contain banned substances that will show up in your either the blood or the urine testing that may take place. I don't know whether or not they have reached the stage yet where they are testing darts players for performance-enhancing drugs. But in this day and age, we see where everyone is doing something to sharpen their age and to make things a little bit easier for them in terms of competition. You never know. So they may be drug testing darts players as well. This writer also pointed out that sometimes they will take masks on board the plane, and not things like a balaclava or something like that. Just a surgical mask to try to prevent contracting the flu or something like that as well. I spoke earlier about doctors and did a little research quickly about physicians per capita. And I found something here. It says countries with the highest relative number of doctors. And says based on current statistics, no fewer than 44% of the World Health Organization member states have reported having less than one doctor per 1,000 people amongst their respective populations. Not surprisingly, the countries with the lowest relative requirements have the highest number of health workers. Qatar, with 77.4 physicians per 1,000 people, leads the way. The oil-rich state is then followed by Monaco, which has 71.7 physicians per 1,000. Cuba with 67.2. Greece and San Marino with Greece and San Marino with 54.51%, Spain 49.5%, Austria 48.3%, which basically are the top of the list. And despite the impressive numbers of the leaders, there are only 1.13 doctors for every 1,000 people in the world today. For some countries, the rates are even much lower still. This shocking revelation has led the World Health Organization to estimate that in the next decade or so, there will be a global shortage of about 4.3 million healthcare workers, when including physicians, nurses, and medical technologists. Talks about the physician supply, which refers to the number of trained doctors who are employed in the healthcare system, are currently active in the medical labor market, is impacted mainly by the number of medical school graduates in certain countries, as well as the number of physicians who actually go on to further their careers in medical field. This goes without saying that the countries with educational system not sufficiently developed to have medical schools will suffer greatly of shortage of physician supply, which is certainly the case for the ones located in the African region. I'm not sure whether or not the Economics and Statistics Unit has the figures in terms of doctors per capita in the Cayman Islands, but I would venture to say, based on what you see, based on the advertising, that we have certainly more than the doctors that we need here in the Cayman Islands. And bear in mind that when they're talking about these figures with doctors, there are many persons in the medical profession, especially doctors, who simply do their work because they see that as their calling and they see that as helping their fellow human beings, whereas there are many doctors who are in the profession simply for the financial reward and no other reward. And we have that mixture here in the Cayman Islands as well. Those who do it as a calling and those who do it to pocket the financial rewards. I will say no more. We have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Well, say good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Not too bad. Just want to comment briefly on the darts. I remember, when I used to play professional darts, that we used to travel over the Caribbean. Drugs is something that was not even mentioned in that particular game when it came to darts. I mean, there was no such thing, because darts is something that you have to be 100% sharp. Even a beer or two or any mixed drinks at all will throw you off like you would not believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I never drank. The only thing I ever drank was a beer. So if I found a few times that if I drank 1 or 2 or 3 beers, them beers I used to drink like maybe 6. Now I'm down to 2. It would affect my accuracy with trying to hit exactly what I want to hit. So I'm not saying that, it's not people are not doing it, but I can tell you if they are, it's going to affect their skills for hitting what they want tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to share that with you.
Okay, but caller, are you aware that there is no drug testing in the sport of darts? Is there?
I am much aware that there's no drug testing in darts because of the same comments that I made, because it's not like some sports, people take drugs to improve their energy, and their stamina and everything else in the world they can think about. But in darts, it's a whole different ball game. It's all in the wrist and the eyes.
And the mental sharpness.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And I mean, your hand have to be 100%, what's the word you would use? No nervousness or no...
Steady.
I mean,
it has to be steady, yes. Uh-huh.
Yes. You have to be 100% steady with your hand, or you can forget it. You'll probably hit the floor quicker than you hit the board. And I mean, these are things that I learned about darts over the years when I used to play professionally. But, but I'm sure there probably is, but you're not going to perform the way that you should, I can assure you that.
Okay, thank you very much, caller, for that. Ms. Susan, you want to take one more call? No more call? No, we have no calls. I have a WhatsApp here. I'm trying to access it. I believe that there's something here. Good morning. I missed the WhatsApp message about the NAU, and seems like a person opposing help for people unless it is the case of a disaster occurring with the applicant. Can you read it for me again, please? Appreciate it. Okay, I'll try to find that NAU one as well. If I can't, then I'll do it the other day. Another one says, good morning. Your question just now about NPOs. There are 3 ways to have your charter registered now as a BOO. Under the new law, the method for loosely held groups like neighborhood watch groups and strata organizations, etc., it's to have them duly registered as an unincorporated body of persons. Please call or visit me, and that's George Ebanks has sent that in that regard. This other one says, good morning, Mr. Connor. In regards to the seaweed, I don't understand why our government continues to allow seaweed to affect the activities and businesses on the islands. We have so many people with money as well as unemployment issues. Well, I'm not sure whether or not it seems as if this person is advocating that the government needs to do something about it. I would imagine that when the CV does come up on government property, then it is incumbent on government as the holder or owner of crown lands to clear it. Likewise, if the seaweed washes up on private property, then it is incumbent upon the owners of those private properties to clean them. In terms of preventing the seaweed from actually reaching the shores, that is an enormous challenge. And what I would say there is that we really all need to do our part to see how we can mitigate against it. But I don't believe that it is the sole responsibility of the government to have that done. We'll take the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Football. I can hardly ride my bicycle now these days, boy.
Oh, okay. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no problem. Like what I've overheard on the ear. I'm having a medical problem that I have to do prescribed medication, steroids. This is called prednisone and cortisone.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take them at home. And also, I have to go do oxygen, right? With a brain disorder.
Okay.
I don't take them on the street. I have to do them home. I'm not referring to marijuana or anything like that. Because during those medications, I'm excluded from that. My doctor told me that. Don't mess with that. You understand?
Yes.
So, what do you think about it?
What do I think about the fact that your doctor has told you not to mess with it, or the fact that you're on cortisone and those other...
not to mess with marijuana.
You should follow your doctor's advice. Obviously, the doctor recognizes that the mixture of the medication that you're taking and the possible side effects or repercussions from mixing that with the smoking of ganja could adversely affect your health, and you should always follow your doctor's advice.
Because nearly every 3 months I have to do a CT scan, a brain scan, you know?
Yes. No.
To monitor the movement. Then I have to see the brain specialist, which is here now, thank God for her. And she monitored and gave me some prescription and told me not to do grapefruit juice, nothing like that.
Yes.
I think it's a form of steroids also, which it is, yeah.
Yes, caller, you follow your doctor's advice. Always follow that, and if you find that the advice that they're giving you and you have some effects from that, let them know as well, because sometimes then they will either change the medication or reduce the potency of the medication as well. I want to thank you, caller, for that. We're going to ask you to leave us there, folks. I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. So I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who is less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling, Dwayne Banks at 12 noon for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking and pension needs, call or visit a Fidelity branch today. Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. And Cayman Pharmacy Group, with locations in West Base and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. And Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling Seaboard Marine at 949-4977.